Please join me in welcoming my friend, colleague, and a passionate defender of our industry, ICBA Chairman-elect Preston Kennedy. Here he comes. Go get him, buddy.
Thank you.
You bet, you bet.
You know how hard it is to do this, and now you're going to make me do it with tears in my eyes? Thank you very much. You know, I'm pretty sure this has happened to all of us, or perhaps will happen to us sooner or later. Your biggest, or your best, or your most coveted customer comes to you one day to tell you they're moving on. Now, your community bank just not able to meet their financial needs anymore. They've outgrown you. The conversation sort of goes like this. Thanks for nursing me through my tenuous startup days, and I really appreciate you navigating me through those crises. But I'm in the big leagues now. I'm too, complicated for my hometown bank, so goodbye. What happened to me turned out to be one of the transformative moments of my community banking career. Forced me to answer that question, what is a community bank? Forced me to take a long, hard look at the value proposition that a community bank offers. By nature, community bankers are competitors. We have to face down the too big to fail, too big to jail, too big to manage, too big to regulate mega banks with that safety net of immortality on the one side of us. And then there's the unfair, tax-advantaged, blood-sucking credit unions on the other. And we have to do that every day and weighted down with much of the same regulation that's designed to rein in the abuses of Wall Street, abuses we would never and could never inflict on our communities, while paying our income taxes that support our military, police, and firefighters, pave our roads, build our schools, obligations that the freeloading credit union industry is free to enjoy without having to pay for. So we don't roll over when we face a challenge, we fight. So when the chief financial officer, one of our oldest customers, left me a drop-dead message with our receptionist, that same sweet receptionist you saw on that video, and on the flimsiest of pretenses, I might add. After gaining my composure, taking a few deep, deep breaths, I threw a fit actually, but I made them an offer. I said, if our bank could not demonstrate that we were their best possible financial partner, that I would personally lead the effort to transfer all of their accounts. Now, we agreed to meet 2 weeks later at our bank. So our management team put our heads together and we came up with a very strong sales pitch, very strong. But we knew something was missing. What could we possibly offer that a too-big-to-fail bank couldn't offer? Why, of course, the one thing only a community bank can offer. That's a relationship, a true relationship, because that's what we do. We build and nurture relationships. We could demonstrate our competence, but to keep this customer, we were going to have to prove the value of that relationship. In other words, we'd sell them on our brains, but it was going to take heart to close this deal. Now, we're all members of the Independent Community Bankers of America, so we instinctively and intrinsically understand the value of a community bank relationship. For nearly a century, our trade association has fought to protect our franchise value and advance the community bank business model to create and promote an environment where community banks flourish. Through ICBA, we've taken advantage of professional enrichment programs. We've been able to acquire the latest technology, and we forged a sterling reputation with the regulators, legislators, and the general public. You know, we're plugged in, we're smart, we're well respected, yet we constantly must prove ourselves as the best financial alternative. Now, that's no small task. But as Hyman Roth said in The Godfather Part 2, this is the business we've chosen. Well, the problem I faced as the day of this meeting loomed was, how do you demonstrate this value to a skeptical customer who already has one foot out of the door? I mean, how do you describe what it means to be a community bank? And why exactly is that a value-added benefit for a customer? Well, the answer, it turned out, was right in front of my face. Honest to goodness. Racking my brain, agonizing over trying to find a solution, and it was staring right back at me. The logo for our bank, the Bank of Zachary, see it right there, it's 4 identical designs, and they resemble panes of glass or flower petals or leaves on a 4-leaf clover. And these 4 designs come together to form one image. Now there was the answer. I came to recognize that these 4 panes represent our 4 constituent groups: our customers, our employees, our shareholders, and our community at large. Now these 4 panes, they have to be equal and balanced to accurately combine to form our logo. Now likewise, our 4 constituent groups, they interact to answer that somewhat enigmatic question, what is a community bank? You know, many have tried to define a community bank by asset size, but that puts all the emphasis on bank and none on community. You know, Wells Fargo has $2 trillion in assets, but that fact alone didn't sink their bogus marketing campaign where they pretended to be a community bank. A culture that tolerates taking advantage of your customers and then placing the blame on the frontline employees, you know, that would never, ever take root in a true community bank. Oh, you know, speaking of Wells Fargo, did you see where their regulator issued an unusual public criticism of Wells Fargo's response to the recent scandals? That's scandal with an S on the end, plural. The regulator issued a public criticism. Now, I bet that left a real nasty mark, huh? For a fraction of what Wells Fargo has admitted to, you know what they'd issue you? An orange jumpsuit and a prison sentence. Because unequal justice is no justice. But I digress. You know, hashtag unequal justice is no justice. Remember that. But at community banks, we focus on all 4 constituent groups. So our management team, we got together and we began to craft our presentation around our focus on the community bank value proposition and why a 50-year-old business in Zachary, Louisiana, should continue doing business with a 100-year-old community bank in Zachary, Louisiana. Now, we first had to demonstrate our ability to meet their financial needs. Because after all, being good guys and gals, that is very important, but it only takes you so far. Community banks are held in high esteem, but that will not translate to the bottom line if we cannot deliver. Now, our bank's aim is to be smart by combining knowledge with common sense. Now, that requires exceptional employees and exceptional leadership. You know, great employees don't want to be bossed, and they don't want to be managed. They want to be led by leaders who create leaders. Now, community banks, we don't see our employees as robotic referral machines, and we don't treat our employees as interchangeable units of production. But we have to offer more than a paycheck. We have to offer a vision, and this vision has to reach down to the entry-level employee on their very first day on the job. Now, at the Bank of Zachary, this vision brings us together as a team. And as such, we're accountable to one another. You know, if a team member is underperforming or struggling with a task, it's up to the coaching staff to shore up that deficiency, because our team depends on everyone filling a vital role. You know, likewise, the star players better be recognized and rewarded, or one day we'll look up and they'll be playing on another team. The key is we're all in it together. Now, I'm very thankful that another very important group of people have been all in it together with me. That's my family. So over the years, they've supported my passion for this great industry every step of the way. And I'm honored and thrilled to have some members of our rather large family here with us today. Others were here earlier in the week, had to go home, other obligations, mainly to get children back in school, but some of them are here with us today. I see our son, John Preston, my daughter, Riley, her husband, Robert, and our grandchildren, Bobby and Eloise, my daughter, Jill, her husband, Todd, and their oldest daughter, June. Now, June was named for her great-grandmother, my mother, June Kennedy. Now, you know, the best thing that ever happened to me was being born the son of June Kennedy. She's 94 years young, living in Tallahassee, Florida. She'll see this on a video recording. I just want to say, thank you, Mama. She raised 4 of us and a wild husband, so believe me, she deserves all those applauses. Now, John Preston, Riley, and Jill are part owners of Feliciana Bank. It's a community bank in Clinton, Louisiana, where I spent the first half of my career. And then there's my wife and my best friend, Sherelle. Now, she deserves it too. Sherelle's been by my side from Tulalip, Washington to Lake Sebago, Maine, and I couldn't have done any of this without her. Now, if you've had the pleasure of meeting Sherelle, I think I know what you're thinking. How did such an ordinary fellow like me end up with such a beautiful, sweet, and caring wife? It's mysterious, I know. But many years ago when we were dating, I told Sherelle, I said, look, I know there are better looking guys than me. I know there are smarter guys than me. I know there are richer guys than me, but I'm dead certain of one thing. No one will ever love you as much as I do. She bought it. And I'm so happy. And similarly, community banks must have a genuine love for the communities we serve. And that doesn't come from writing a big check to the United Way, and it certainly doesn't come from purchasing the naming rights to a stadium. The love we show our communities is in the blood, sweat, and tears we shed in good times and bad. You go to any community in America, small, medium, large, 9 times out of 10, community bankers are leading the local Chamber of Commerce. They're heading up the Lions Club, the Rotary Club, the Kiwanis Club. Community bankers are volunteering at the PTA. They're fundraising for the high school band. They're going on field trips with the elementary school. Community bankers are flipping pancakes to help defray somebody's medical expenses. And you know, nobody has to ask. We just show up and do it. What's good for the community is good for our community bank. Birds fly, fish swim, community bankers serve the community. That's just the way it is. But relevant products, exceptional service, smart and motivated employees, recognition as the leading corporate citizen, it's all for nothing if we cannot provide a reasonable return for our shareholders. You know, we don't have any house money when we manage our community banks. We don't sponge off the taxpayers. We don't rely on the taxpayers to hold up a gigantic safety net under the kind of inordinate risk that too big to fail banks are fond of. But our shareholders are entitled to the maximum value that we can attain without losing sight of the customers, employees, and the community. It's the profit motive that inspires us to succeed while constraining us to be efficient and prudent. We call that free market capitalism. And you know, community banks are the only segment of the financial industry that's still subject to the rules of free market capitalism. You understand that? No government, no big safety net. But these are the things our management team discussed as we prepared for our meeting with this dubious customer. And the more we discussed the interaction and interdependence of our four constituent groups, the better we got to know ourselves and what it is that sets community banking apart. You know, we were in danger of losing this customer, and we might have lost him, but in the process, we found our way. The Bank of Zachary way is how we now define our corporate culture. Now, there's nothing new about it. It's been the successful formula for community banking forever. Important thing for us was we articulated it. We began to hold ourselves publicly accountable to each of our constituent groups in our website, in our marketing material, even on the walls of our branches. I think you saw a shot of that on the walls of our branches. Now, on the day of reckoning, we assembled our officers and our directors. We wanted to show this business the bank, these people, that's the bank. Represented in that group were, among other things, 10 terms as president of 3 separate chambers of commerce, 5 past presidents of our local Rotary Club, 4 who had been honored as our community's Citizen of the Year, one of the founders of our local hospital, the defending Relay for Life championship team, the leading fundraiser for the March of Dimes, a dozen current or former youth sports coaches, a room full of Bible school volunteers, even a 3-term mayor-president of East Baton Rouge Parish. Now that's a pretty impressive customer base staring that business back in the face, don't you think? I'm proud to say many of those folks are here with us today, and I'd like to take just a moment to introduce them to you. We have 3 executive officers that are still with the bank active as directors. That's former President and CEO Harry Morris, former Executive Vice President Ed Canning, and former Executive Melinda White. We have was a director at the time, Chairman of the Board now, Sam Johnson, and directors then, directors now, Randy Bryan, David Thornton, and Mayor Tom Ed McHugh. Our also there, officers then, officers now, our Chief Financial Officer Larry Bellard, and Senior Vice Presidents Judy Foreman and Loretta Barber. And also with us today are some that have since joined the Bank of Zachary team, our President and CEO Mark Marino, our Chief Operating Officer Russell Blanchard, and Senior Vice Presidents Josh Prejean and Brent Bradley. I'd like to give them a hand. And thank them for allowing me the time and to do these things. It's just amazing. Well, in the presence of this distinguished assemblage, we laid out the tremendous value of associating with our community bank. First, by demonstrating our capability. Then by demonstrating that our vision aligned perfectly with their vision. And this shared vision could better be realized through our mutually satisfying relationship. In short, what we told them was this: that other bank might be better looking than we are, they might be smarter, and they might be richer, but nobody is going to love you like we do. And they bought it. We held on to that customer. And I'm proud to say they're still our customer. But if they had walked away, it would not have changed who we are. Like most of you in this room, we are an independent community bank. We balance the needs of our customers, our employees, our shareholders, and our community at large. This is the business we've chosen, and this is the way we've chosen to conduct it. And through the Independent Community Bankers of America and its affiliates throughout the country, we will fight to preserve the community banking model, fight to keep us educated and informed, fight to keep us technologically advanced, and fight to keep our reputations clean and our influence on Capitol Hill at an all-time high. And we ask for nothing but a level playing field on which to compete. In a fair fight, I like our chances, because nobody will ever love our customers, our employees, our shareholders, and our communities the way that we do. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much.